So in this final module, we're going to look at what you do once you are in the exam. We will cover how to answer merit and excellence questions so that you can answer all parts of the question and prevent waffling, as well as how to proofread your work so that you pick up on all of your mistakes. The first thing we need to do before we start answering a question that requires an extended answer is work out exactly what the question is asking. The best way to do that is to highlight the key words. These are the words that relate to the key concepts that are being tested in that question. So words like the, then, to, and so on are common words. They don't give us any information, so we don't want to highlight them. Quite often students highlight an entire sentence, meaning half the writing in the question is highlighted, and a lot of it doesn't actually tell us anything. When we highlight, we just want to make the keywords pop. These are the words that will help us work out what facts we need to include. In this example, I am highlighting the ions that make up the ionic compounds given in the question, and the words relating to the science concepts being tested. Note how I didn't highlight the words to and the when highlighting related and charges. I have used two coloured highlighters, so the orange shows me the concepts or ideas the question is related to and asking about, and the yellow is used to highlight the example given in that question. If you complete exam papers from previous years, often you will see that in this case the orange words or the concepts being tested are the same every year. They just change the example they use, or the yellow words in this case. Next, I want to write short notes next to each highlighted word. These notes will help remind me of the facts that I need to include in my answer. Then I want to write bullet points of the key points. These bullet points will be the structure of your answer. If you run out of time in the exam and don't get to turn them into an essay-styled answer, you still get achieved points for these bullet points, so it is worth doing. Once you have your bullet points, you want to order them. Think about which point should come first, and then which point it links to next. If you are sitting an English exam, you will need to think about which paragraph the bullet points belong in, and include an introduction and conclusion. But for subjects like science, you don't have time to write introductions and conclusions, and you won't get any marks for them anyway, so just jump straight to the point. Think about which key words each bullet point relates to, and get rid of any bullet points that aren't needed to answer the question. Now you are ready to write a structured answer that you can be confident includes all of the key points and doesn't have any extra information that isn't needed and wastes your time. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I have a picture of toilet cubicles next to a slide about proofreading. And there is a reason for this. I always encourage my students to take a break before they proofread their work. And in an exam, the only break that you can take is a toilet break. And so I don't care whether you need to go to the toilet or not, whether you just walk into that cubicle and you spin around a few times and walk back out, but you need to get up, you need to move, and you need to get away from your answers before you come back and proofread your work. So the reason for this is as you're focused on the exam and your answer and you're writing it, your brain is, thinking through what it wants to say. So it's coming up with the answer as you write it. And so if you write your answer and then you go back and you read it straight away, your brain, it still remembers what it wanted to write, so what should be on the paper. So as you read over your answer, you end up reading what your brain believes is there and not necessarily what you actually wrote on the paper. So every year when I'm marking school exams or practice tests, I always get, the answers where I know what they wanted to write, but they haven't quite written that. And because I'm huge on telling my students to proofread, I'll go to them and say, did you proofread your work? And they're adamant they did. And I know they did, but unfortunately they were reading what they thought they wrote and not what they actually wrote. And so by getting up and leaving your desk, leaving the room, taking a little break, it's a reset for your brain. What it just wrote isn't fresh in your mind. You're changing your environment. There's new senses coming in, and it's a really good reset. So then when you go back into your exam, your brain isn't like fresh in what you've just written. It isn't thinking about what was on that paper. And so as you read over your answer, you're reading it like someone else wrote it. And so you're actually reading what is there, and you are able to pick up your mistakes so much easier and correct them. So there's no limit on your toilet breaks. Obviously, if you get up and you go every 5 minutes, they're going to get suspicious. If you need to go toilet as you're writing, go toilet, come back. But once you've finished all of your papers, get up, go to the bathroom again, have that little break, then come back in, and that's when you do your proofreading. You can read over your answer straight after you write it, just to make sure that you've included everything, or just to refresh your brain on what you wrote. But don't count that as your proofreading. Writing an answer then reading it is not proofreading. You're just reading what you think you wrote. Take your break at the end of your exam, come back in, do your proofreading for all papers at the very end.